It was supposed to be a short 8-month war. Before the Terran Ampharos War, humanity was under a governing body called the Terran Republic, which maintained a strict policy of neutrality aside from the usual trade agreements. However, that ended when the Terran Republic found itself plunged into a bloody civil war. The reasons for the war varied, resulting in no concrete answers. The Terran Republic split into two factions. Loyalist forces called themselves the Republic of United Systems, and those who initiated the conflict, the Dominion. The Civil War was widely broadcasted across galactic space, as stunned onlookers could only witness the sheer brutality humanity inflicted upon themselves. Those who initially viewed humanity as a peaceful, caring race had those illusions completely shattered. Taking advantage of the human Civil War, plans were immediately drawn up to invade humanity with the goal of annexation and the subjugation of the Terran race. However, the sheer brutality of the Civil War made some of our military thinkers nervous. Reports of genocide, the destruction of cities, and the complete mistreatment of POWs, along with the overall lack of care for civilians, brought up concerns. If humans were willing to go to such lengths of brutality and violence against their own species, what would happen if they were given a common enemy? Of course, those who raised these concerns were ignored, with the counter-argument that humanity wouldn't have the resources to wage another war against a superior force immediately after their civil war ended. The human Civil War lasted for 9 years. As the brutality of the war escalated, both sides eventually called for a ceasefire after the devastation that encompassed human space. Of course, humanity being part of the Galactic Federation, organizations flooded into human space to help ease the suffering of humanity, to which they were grateful. Once the treaties were signed and both sides were gradually demobilizing their forces, that's when we took the opportunity to launch our decisive offensive into human space. As expected, the Federation demanded a withdrawal from human space, which prompted our response withdrawal of the Federation as planned. The Federation and its members condemned the invasion. However, no real military action was taken due to the Federation's knowledge of how unmatched their military was compared to the might of our military. As a result, almost all Federation support for humanity was recalled out of fear that a retaliatory strike would occur, leaving humanity to fight alone. The general overall plan called for a swift thrust to the human capital world of Earth. We thought capturing humanity's homeworld would force them to capitulate. Luckily for humanity, Earth and the solar system were the farthest from our borders, which we initially thought was the only thing going for them. From us to Earth, we had to go through 7 systems with 9 human-inhabited planets. Given our military capabilities and how fractured humanity was, the war was expected to end in a mere 8 months. Just how wrong we were. Resistance was, as expected, half-hearted at best. We initially invaded through Dominion space, swiftly taking the first 2 systems with relative ease and minimal casualties within the span of 1 month. However, resistance movements started to form on occupied planets, raising concerns with the military high command, especially among those experienced in guerrilla warfare. Although these concerns fell on deaf ears, ambushes of convoys and patrols on occupied planets started to rise. One concerning report detailed an ambush on one of our military signal companies, resulting in everyone being killed. The report was written off, but it was noted that a single Dominion ship was spotted leaving the planet. The local forces were unable to shoot down the ship, allowing it to escape and jump out of the system. Moving on with the plan, we jumped to the 3rd system, continuing our advance towards Earth. However, we noticed Dominion forces had rallied to put up fierce resistance against our invading fleet. When the invading fleet jumped into the system, Dominion ships were in a defensive position, overlooking the planet. We observed an endless stream of ships leaving the planet and jumping out of the system behind the Dominion fleet. The fleet admiral at the time assumed that the retreating ships were military targets. As shown in the recent human Civil War, little regard was given to civilians. Our fleet moved forward and completely obliterated the Dominion Navy present, which was comprised only of frigates and destroyers. However, it was noted that among the Dominion fleet, there was a Republic cruiser. This raised the question of why a Republic cruiser was among the Dominion fleet if they hated each other, yet the question was never truly asked, merely an afterthought. Following the destruction of the Dominion fleet, we smoothly captured the 3rd system, although Dominion resistance on the planet was notably fiercer. Despite this, it was nothing our forces couldn't handle. After the conquest of the system, we expected humanity to call for peace, considering their economic and military capabilities were strained due to the Civil War. However, humanity, as stubborn as always, reeled up for a fight. Ships attempting to leave the system were destroyed rather than hailed, with the Admiral grieving over his son's death on the planet below, ordering their destruction under the assumption there were military assets fleeing. It was later found out that the destroyed ships had many civilians aboard. When we discovered this, we thought nothing of it, taking note from the human civil war that civilians were always caught in the crossfire. However, humanity cared deeply and took it personally. For every destroyed ship, humans viewed it as an attack on their species. Once humanity understood our intention to subjugate their race, a unified cry for vengeance and retribution arose. This terrified the Galactic Federation and caused nervous glances among our military high command. We had given humanity a common enemy to rally against. Across human space, a flurry of activity transformed a half-hearted, shattered people of both the Republic and the Dominion into one unified fighting force with the sole purpose of driving the invaders out of their homes. Never seen before in galactic history, humanity transitioned to a pure total war society. Despite the massive loss of life in the human civil war, military recruitment numbers reached an all-time high. The resistance in occupied worlds expanded hundredfold, forcing us to halt our advance to put down these movements. It took 6 months to quell the major resistance movements on occupied planets. The thing with these guerrillas was that putting down one set of fighters led to 2 more taking their place. Despite this, occupying garrisons committed harsh reprisals, further agitating the humans and leading more to join resistance cells. It was clear the war wouldn't end within 8 months, but our leaders refused to withdraw, intending to continue the war by all means. Eventually, we stabilized enough to initiate our invasion of the 4th human-held system. Instead of a shattered Dominion military, we faced a new enemy, the United Terran Empire. They waged war like an animal pushed into a corner. We gained space supremacy as humanity's doctrine in space warfare consisted of fast hit-and-run ships rather than open battles. However, the planet invasion was different. It was the bloodiest battle in our military history. Our forces landed in pre-sighted kill zones all over the planet. Every major road had at least one artillery battery pre-sighted on it. Destroyed cities from the previous war made perfect fortresses, and the zealous nature of human soldiers to fight to the bitter end was relentless. It took 5 months of repeated invasion attempts for us to finally establish a foothold. Here, humanity revealed its trump card technology to prevent ships that jumped into the system from jumping out, effectively forcing attackers to capture the planet to destroy the FTL prohibitor. With humanity revealing their trump card, we were forced to jump into each system and capture the planets with these FTL prohibitors, preventing us from utilizing our superior numbers to overwhelm multiple systems simultaneously. A year passed in the 4th system campaign, feeding more soldiers and material onto the planet when humanity did the unthinkable. They located our species' homeworld and firebombed it. Never before in our history had an enemy force attacked our homeworld, let alone gotten close enough. The fact that humanity managed to sneak past numerous fleet patrols and strike while the home fleet was away infuriated our leaders. The admiral of the home fleet was used as a scapegoat and executed for his failure to protect the planet. Reinforcing the home fleet with more warships to defend the planet led to humanity attempting the same thing twice. The months following the daring raid were the worst I ever lived through. Morale dropped both at home and the front, while humanity and the Federation were ecstatic, reminiscing on their historical Doolittle raid. This resulted in some Federation members giving material aid to humanity. The resistance in the 4th campaign grew stronger. Concerns arose over the lack of prisoners taken during the fighting. Human soldiers preferred death over surrender, leading encircled forces to fight to the bitter end, often attempting suicidal counterattacks. The series of setbacks continued. Following the raid on our homeworld, humanity started raiding other planets in our mercantile and supply ships, jumping in to raid and then out before our defensive fleets arrived. These raids, though initially insignificant, began to impact morale, stability, and our ability to wage war. Massive propaganda campaigns were launched to save face and maintain war support. Naval assets were stretched thin, escorting desperately needed supply ships to the front lines. Despite these efforts, daring human fleets still attempted their raids. The 4th system campaign took 4 years to fully capture the planet, with forces manually clearing tunnels, sewers, and mountains to root out resistance. Even more so, out of all the defenders on the planet, less than 5% were captured, a grim prospect for future campaigns. Despite this, our leaders urged the people on. Though war-weary, they still supported it. The 5th and 6th system campaigns were just as bloody, if not more violent and brutal. During the 5th campaign, humanity made no effort to evacuate civilians as they did in the 4th, designating everyone on the planet as hostile combatants. This furthered humanity's resolve to fight. Whatever new weapon or tactic we deployed, humanity adapted. In the 5th campaign, a planet saturation bombardment had decent effect. but humanity dug into the ground, creating massive underground bunkers. This was even more evident in the 6th campaign, where saturation bombardment had little to no effect. Human forces were all underground, forcing ground units to clear the planet one hole at a time. The 7th and final campaign was the last. Humanity was at its finest, executing a massive misinformation campaign, baiting us into a trap. They made us believe they would fall back and defend Earth with everything they had, leaving a skeleton garrison on the planet to match our fleet's arrival. No one in the military bought the idea until surveillance showed transport and warships heading towards Earth. This baited us into a trap and we bought it. Unable to adapt to humanity's anti-L weapon, we jumped into the system with a heavy escort of warships. The system was different, with an uncharacteristic amount of space debris from trash to destroyed warships. Despite the eeriness, the fleet pressed on in tight formation. This was exactly what humanity wanted. Out of nowhere, orbital defense platforms of various sizes and a significant portion of the human navy opened fire. Due to the fleet's herded formation, casualties were heavy. War and transport ships were destroyed as the fleet pressed towards Earth. Despite losses, more reinforcing warships were transported to aid the battle. When all orbital defense platforms were destroyed and the human navy withdrew, the battered fleet advanced. They knew they couldn't flee if they tried. The first wave landed seemingly unopposed, spreading out to complete objectives and establish a foothold. However, all hell broke loose when the second wave was landing. Human guns opened up on our beleaguered units. Our forces were led into another kill zone. Almost overnight, the first and second waves were wiped out. The complete annihilation of our forces on the planet was the breaking point for both the military and our empire. Huge swaths of our military mutinied, refusing to fight. Extreme civil unrest erupted at home. Federation warships invaded our systems, forcing us to make peace. Human diplomats had been meeting frequently with Federation members, gaining their support. Initially hesitant, Federation members agreed to the call to arms once they saw the mighty Ampharos Empire could be beaten. Humanity knew they couldn't win alone without Federation support, so they traded bodies for time. Sacrificing 7 star systems and 9 planets brought humanity 15 years. Humanity made the demands during peace negotiations, demanding unconditional surrender. With Federation support and millions of eager human soldiers, they dug their heels in. We were forced to sign a humiliating peace treaty, releasing all enslaved races and paying compensation, including war reparations to humanity. It was later discovered humanity acted with restraint out of respect for Federation demands. They wanted to completely eradicate our species. Decades after the war, many humans still harbor those feelings. It was found humanity cracked our military cipher at the start of the war. Human resistance fighters ambushed a signal convoy, killing everyone and smuggling the cipher off-world. A simple report shrugged aside cost us dearly. It diverted countless warships to worthless systems, slowed convoys, and showed the galaxy we could be beaten. The extreme loss of life in the war is still debated. Both sides suffered horrendous losses, but humanity took the brunt. Our military and civilian deaths amounted to 10%. Humanity lost 40 to 50% of their population. 9 planets were nearly destroyed. Luckily, liberated races flocked to human planets, grateful to their liberators. Humanity started to rebuild. I met a human general and asked why they fought so hard. His response shook me. We humans are not so different from you. We hate each other as much as we hate you. It's in our blood to hate our fellow man. But there's always been one truly unifying force, a common enemy. So I write this memoir as a warning to those who wish malice against humanity. Matriarch Zealous Axolotl, Joint Chief of Staff of the Ampharos Military High Command. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. For every comment that says we will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.